Well, joining me now is the Communications Director for the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Edina Lekovic. Edina, thank you for joining us. Always good to have you with us. Following these tragic events in Portland, Robert McCaw, who's a top official with the Council on American Islamic Relations, was quoted as saying this. Let's put it up on the screen. The president contextualizes Muslims as foreigners and as national security threats, and it seems his hostility toward American Muslims is promoting this narrative of hate that led to the stabbings in Oregon. Do you see what happened in Portland as in that same context as a climate of hate that, in McCaw's view, is propagated by the president?
The climate is certainly there, and it's not just a matter of opinion, it's a matter of fact. If you look at the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is documenting hate groups and hate crimes and hate incidents all over the country, they're seeing an unprecedented spike in the amount of white nationalist, alt-right, white supremacist activity and the rise of these groups. So this current climate that we're in with this current administration is only feeding into that. And part of, let's just look at how President Trump has responded to Portland or to other incidents that have involved hate crimes targeted towards people of color, like the church bombing in Charleston, where it took him 16 hours to comment on Twitter about that. In this case, it took a few days for him to comment.
Indeed, and to that point, in terms of the president's response, the attack took place on Friday. The response came on Monday. A number of people have pointed out that the response came from his official White House Twitter account, not his personal account. What does that say to you? Why would this president not respond on Friday? Why would he choose to respond from his official account? Well, what is your thought?
Well, his track record shows to me that if he's not turning a blind eye to these kinds of horrific incidents that are un-American, he's turning a lazy eye to them. It's taking him an awfully long time to come out and stand for American values and protect the individual rights of all Americans. When it comes to so-called Islamist terrorism that takes place, like whether it's the Louvre incident or the San Bernardino attack, he comes out within a matter of hours to talk about those issues. And in this case, this isn't just about the Muslim community. It's about our American values. It's about these three individuals who represent the best of what America has to offer. What took place in Portland represents the best and the worst of our country. It represents the best in those three individuals who stood up to defend American values of equality and of all of us belonging here together and tried to de-escalate that situation. And that deranged individual, Mr. Christian, represents the worst of America. And that's the lazy eye that President Trump is turning, because that's one of the main threats that faces our countries. And unless we can look it in the eye, President Trump called it unacceptable, the Portland attack, and said that he sends his prayers out to those families. While that's laudable, that's unacceptable from a president to simply just send prayers. We need federal action, hate crimes investigation and prosecution to take place in this case and in every other case that involves immigrants, people of color who are being targeted all over our country today under the kinds of policies that President Trump is advancing.
The president just got back from his 9-day trip that involved a stop in Saudi Arabia, and there have been others who have said that there is a contradiction in the president's position when it comes to Muslims abroad. We know that he engaged in Saudi Arabia with a number of Muslim leaders. There's a willingness to engage there, but there's not a willingness to engage with American Muslims. Do you feel the same way?
Certainly. If we look at President Trump's recent statement at the start of Ramadan, the holy month that Muslims are observing right now.
We have some of that. Let's put up
that statement almost entirely focuses on terrorism with a little bit of spirituality thrown in.
And let me read some of it. It says, at its core, the spirit of Ramadan strengthens awareness of our shared obligation to reject violence, to pursue peace, and to give to those in need who are suffering from poverty or conflict. It goes on to end this way. I reiterate my message delivered in Riyadh. America will always stand with our partners against terrorism and the ideology that fuels it. During this month of Ramadan, let us be resolved to spare no measure so that we may ensure that future generations will be free of the scourge and able to worship and commune in peace. A lot of focus on terrorism and conflict there. People saying missing the meaning of Ramadan.
Precisely. Well, and missing the reality of who American Muslims are. We are 3.5 million strong in this country, and we are doctors, physicians, cab drivers, school teachers. We're contributing every day in communities around the country. And to simply be looked at as either potential national security threats or national security assets is insulting to us as Americans. Our country deserves better, and at this moment in our history, history. President Trump needs to step up and show the kind of leadership that reflects what the Constitution is about and reflects what America is about. You know, thousands of Americans have stepped forward since Friday to donate to the families left behind, that include an Army veteran and his four children, a recent college graduate, and over $300,000 has been raised to date. This is the spirit of America that is the America that I know. And President Trump needs to not just talk about that America, but actually further policies that will reinforce that America.
Before I let you go, I want to read this. It's part of a letter that was written by the mother of one of the Portland victims. The mother's name is Asher Deliverance, and her son, Talisin Murdin Namkai Mesh, was sadly lost his life in this train attack. And she said this to the president: "You have said that you will be president for all Americans. So I ask you, Mr. President, to take action at this time. Your words and actions are meaningful here in America and throughout the world. Please encourage all Americans to protect and watch out for one another. Please condemn any acts of violence which result directly from hate speech and hate groups. I'm praying you will use your leadership to do so." What would be the most powerful thing the president could do at this point in time, in your view?
I think that he should step up to reinforce what our American values are, that none of us should be targeted. Nobody should be afraid to walk down the street based on the color of their skin or their faith or any other, or their sexuality or any other factors. The president needs to step up and show leadership, but we as Americans need to continue to step up and show leadership too. That's what's critical in this day and age. This administration it presents one problem after another to our democracy, and this is not the time to get lazy. It's the time to remember, honor the memories of these three men, these two men who passed by stepping up, and this very seriously injured third person, and step up, because we need to look white supremacy in the face. This is one of the greatest threats that faces our country today, and the president is turning a blind eye. None of us can afford to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Edina, thank you so much for joining us.